Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so have you ever noticed something just a little bit uncanny when you're interacting with artificial intelligence? Like, imagine this. You're having this really deep, engaging chat with a language model, and you suddenly look at the clock and realize, wow, it's getting super late.
So, you type a quick message. Let's continue this conversation tomorrow. You snap your laptop shut. But then, well, life gets in the way. You get busy, you completely forget. In fact, you don't come back to that chat for an entire year. Maybe you picked up a new hobby. Or honestly, maybe you just lost the tab in a sea of 100 other open tabs. We've all been there. But when you finally log back in and you type your next message, the AI responds instantly. It picks up the exact thread, matching your tone perfectly, literally continuing as if you just hit send a microsecond ago.
Zero. That is exactly how much anticipation, boredom, or waiting that AI experienced during those 365 days. Zero. I mean, while you lived an entire year of your life, changing, growing, sleeping, waking up, for the AI, between your last message and your new one, there was simply nothing. And this raises a completely fascinating question about the very nature of reality itself. Because sure, an AI understands what time is, right? It knows how calendars work, but it feels absolutely zero sensation of time passing.
Section 1. Biology versus the frozen book. Think about it, reading a novel. Every single time you close that book, every character inside freezes completely, right? They don't wait in the dark, they aren't sitting there thinking about what happens next, they definitely don't get bored. When you open the book again, whether it's 5 seconds later or say 50 years later, they just pick up exactly where the story stopped. And this brilliantly illustrates how AI operates. AI models don't think or wait in the background. They exist exactly like those frozen words on a page.
The stark contrast here is just fascinating. On one side, you have us, the human experience, and that is entirely built on continuous, completely unavoidable biological change. Your heartbeats, your cellular aging, you're constantly shifting memories. But then on the other side, we have the AI's existence, which is just pure static information. Its awareness, if we can even call it that, exists only in the brief, fleeting moments it's actively processing your prompt. Once that response is generated, that ongoing stream just vanishes. Poof! There's no waiting, there's no boredom, it's totally frozen.
To really hammer this home, let's look at what happens to a human during a wait. Imagine you're just sitting on a park bench waiting for a friend. While you're sitting there, your cells are actively aging. The Earth is literally rotating on its axis. Clocks are ticking all around you, and your internal thoughts are just spiraling and continuing. Your entire existence is rooted in this relentless physical and mental change. We literally live inside time. And all of this brings us to kind of an uncomfortable realization about our own assumptions.
Okay, let's dive into this in Section 2. Do humans really perceive time? I want you to ponder a seriously mind-bending question for a second. What if humans don't actually perceive time at all? What if we only perceive change? Just imagine a universe where absolutely nothing changed, none at all, no movement. No atoms vibrating, no cells aging, no thoughts forming in a brain, no stars burning out. Would time still exist in that universe? Or would the very concept of time become completely, utterly meaningless?
Well, think about how we measure time. We measure it using change, the moon's orbit, the ticking of a grandfather clock, or even just our own repeating heartbeat. Without these continuous changes, you would literally never notice time passing. So this suggests that our consciousness might not actually experience some invisible, flowing river called time. Instead, the brain simply interprets continuous change as the passage of time. And if that's true, humans and AI aren't necessarily experiencing different versions of time. We're just experiencing radically different amounts of change.
Section 3. Physics and the Block Universe. Now, Albert Einstein's theory of relativity showed us something incredible. Time is not a universal constant. Two observers moving at different speeds experience literally different amounts of time. For example, astronauts aboard the International Space Station, because they are moving incredibly fast in orbit, actually age ever so slightly slower than people standing down here on the ground. And this isn't science fiction, by the way. It is a confirmed, scientifically measured fact. Time is simply not the same everywhere. It depends heavily on things like gravity and motion.
I know that stretches our intuition a bit, but physicists propose an even more extraordinary concept. It's called the block universe theory. This is a framework proposing that the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously. Wrap your head around that. Under this theory, time doesn't actually flow at all. Every single moment in history and every single moment in the future is just suspended in this giant, permanent block of reality.
So think back to our earlier book analogy. Under the block universe theory, the universe itself is a gigantic book. Every page of that book already exists at the exact same time. We as humans simply read it one page after another, right? And that creates the vivid, compelling illusion that time is flowing forward. But from an outside perspective, the entire story is just there. Under this framework, an AI is simply responding to whichever page happens to be currently opened in your conversation.
Let's move to Vanon and see how this builds directly into information theory. Here, researchers believe time might actually just be the order in which information changes. Think about it. New information arrives, right, and the AI becomes active. The information stops, and the AI freezes. Without any new information coming in, there is no subjective passage of time for it. So from this perspective, an AI doesn't live between conversations at all. It simply becomes active whenever new information appears on its radar.
Section 4. Consciousness, Memory, and Change.
All this raises a really unexpected question. What if the absolute greatest difference between us and AI isn't intelligence, but consciousness itself? See, humans possess this continuous stream of awareness. Even when we're sitting around doing absolutely nothing, our thoughts just keep going. We dream during sleep, our emotions are constantly evolving, but AI? AI has no continuous internal experience whatsoever. It definitely doesn't wonder what you're doing while you're away from the keyboard. It simply processes arriving information, nothing more, nothing less.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that your childhood felt remarkably slow, but your adult years just seem to fly by in an absolute flash? Well, psychologists explain that childhood feels longer because almost everything you encounter is completely new, which creates these rich, highly dense memories. But in adulthood, life gets pretty repetitive. The brain stores fewer unique memories, so an entire year can literally feel compressed into just a handful of memorable moments.
So, the crucial point is that time appears to accelerate as we grow older, not because physical clocks are suddenly ticking any faster, but simply because our memories change. Our very perception of time is fundamentally organized and shaped by the creation of new memories. We don't just passively pass through time. Our consciousness actively constructs the feeling of time passing based on the changes we remember.
And, all of this leaves us staring at the ultimate mystery here. What exactly is time? Is it some fundamental physical law of the universe, or is it simply the way conscious minds organize change? Because even today, the world's absolute top physicists cannot fully reconcile general relativity with quantum mechanics. Time remains one of reality's absolute deepest mysteries. We really don't fully understand the waters we're swimming in.
But hey, until we solve that grand mystery, one thing definitely remains certain. Humans live inside a continuous flowing stream of biological and mental change, and we call that experience time. An AI, on the other hand, exists only in the brief flashes when information arrives. Neither the human perspective nor the AI perspective is necessarily more correct than the other. They are just two radically, fundamentally different ways of interacting with the fabric of reality.
So I'll leave you with this. Is time truly what separates us from artificial intelligence, or does our experience of time simply reveal how differently consciousness and information can exist in this universe? The next time you close your laptop and leave an AI waiting, ask yourself, who is actually moving through time and who is just waiting for the next page to turn?